If you're preparing for retirement and you're ready to slow down your work but not quite stop, there is a way to build your super faster, and that's through a transition to retirement pension strategy. Today we've got Clearview Retirement Solutions' Dante De Gore to talk through the strategy with us. Thanks for joining us today, Dante.
You're welcome.
Dante, can you explain what a transition to retirement pension is and how does it differ from a normal account-based pension?
Yes, well, a transition to retirement pension and an account-based pension are very, very similar, except they have some very distinctive differences. A transition to retirement pension has a few limitations. For example, you have to be of preservation age to commence a transition to retirement pension, so it's not available for everybody. Currently that's age 55 for anyone born before 1960, July 1960. A transition to retirement pension also has a minimum pension that you must take. So for someone aged 55, that's 2% of the account balance must be drawn each year. And there's a maximum, so you can't take more than 10% of the account balance on per annum, unlike an account-based pension which has no limitations on the maximum. So it also has a minimum pension that you must take, but there's no maximum. In addition, the transition to retirement pension also does not allow you to access any lump sum payments. So you can draw an income between 2 and 10%, but you can't access a lump sum. With the account-based pension, you can actually access the whole thing as a lump sum if you choose. With the transition to retirement pension, once you do meet a condition of release, so for example actually retiring after 55 or reaching age 65, you can then access the pension as an account-based pension.
Who is eligible to use a transition to retirement pension, and do most super funds offer them?
Yeah, as I mentioned, you do need to be of the right age. So age 55 is the cut-off at the moment. That's the current preservation age. But also you need to be still working, because if you're not working and you're age 55, then you might as well commence an account-based pension. So age 55 and working. And most superannuation funds today do offer transition to retirement pensions. However, it is best to check with your super fund, as they don't all do. Particularly in the industry funds, some of them may or may not offer them, and you do need to double check with that super fund if they indeed offer that, or any pensions at all as well.
Can a self-managed super fund offer a transition to retirement pension? And how does that work?
Again, technically they can. All super funds can offer them. However, with self-managed super funds, if you do have one, you do need to check your trust deed that actually does allow for a transition to retirement pension. If it doesn't, then you would perhaps need to get that updated if that is something that you do want to do. So you need to amend that trust deed. If that is the case, then yes, a self-managed super fund can indeed offer a transition to retirement pension.
Can you explain some of the strategies that make a transition to retirement pension a good idea?
Yeah, well, in essence, there are three strategies that a transition to retirement pension are used. The first one, and the actual policy intention of when it was announced, was to allow people to supplement their income. So as people are getting to an age of 55 and over, they either had the option of, to access any of their superannuation, they had to actually retire to access it. So most people then had to give up work and to access their benefit. Now, what the government is saying, well, they actually don't want people to give up work. They would like to encourage people to continue working in the workforce, obviously. So what they've allowed is for people from age 55, for example, reducing your hours, so go part-time, and to supplement that income that you lost via this transition to retirement pension. So that's the main policy that the strategy was announced for. The second strategy that can be used is that you can then continue working full-time and access additional income via the transition to retirement pension to perhaps pay off additional expenses. And the number one is debt. So people, for example, may still have their home mortgage that they would like to reduce before they retire. So the option there is, okay, well, do I access additional income to pay off that debt quicker before I retire? But the third strategy, which is the most common one and the most popular one, and the one that the majority of advisors do implement for their clients, is to maximise their retirement benefit. In essence, continue working full-time, salary sacrificing into superannuation, drawing the income required as a result of salary sacrificing, and the taxation benefits of the system allows you to put more in the intake out, therefore increasing your retirement benefit in a great deal more than you otherwise would have if you continued on just receiving the SG contributions, for example.
So the tax benefit's one of the main reasons that you'd use the transition to retirement pension strategy.
That's right, absolutely. And look, without even talking about investment returns at all we're looking at is purely the tax benefit. So before you're even considering what investment options to place the client in, you're already ahead because of the tax savings. So salary sacrifice in the superannuation, you're only paying 15% contributions tax. The earnings in the transition retirement pension are completely tax-free. So therefore, the higher marginal tax rate you're on, the greater benefit it is for you. And that tax saving alone already puts you in front quite substantially. And then, of course, adding on the investment returns depending on the investment options.
What should you consider before using a transition to retirement strategy?
Well, each one of those strategies has their pros and cons, obviously. The first one I mentioned about just supplementing your income, well, of course, if you're going part-time, you're then starting to draw on your retirement benefit straight away, and therefore you're reducing your retirement benefit in total by the time you do retire. Now, working part-time, you're still going to get super guaranteed contributions coming in, but of course a smaller amount than you otherwise would have. But of course you're drawing an income to supplement the fact that you've gone part-time. So the issue there is your retirement benefit is not going to be as big as it would otherwise be if you left it. The second strategy, again, also is diminishing of retirement benefit because you're actually accessing additional income to pay down debt. Now, the thing you need to consider here is look at the numbers, because are you better off to pay off your debt now before you retire via accessing additional income, or are you better off to contribute to superannuation, pump up your superannuation as much as you can, and then pay off your debt as a lump sum at the end? And you've got to look at the numbers, interest rates, rates of return, the tax savings, all come into play there. So must consider that as well. And also, you need to also consider as well your loan agreement, whether or not you can discharge a loan early and things like that. And so be very mindful of those agreements. The third strategy, which is the most popular one about maximising retirement benefit, again, the salary sacrifice. Does your employer allow you to salary sacrifice? Number one, most do these days. But you need to double check that what you're salary sacrificing isn't going to reduce the amount of your salary in which super guarantee is paid on. So technically speaking, if you reduce your gross salary down as a result of salary sacrificing, your employer does not have to pay super guarantee on your original salary. They can pay it on the reduced. So you may want to double check what your employer is going to do there. And of course, you need to look at the numbers. So how much are you salary sacrificing versus how much income you're going to draw, because you don't want to draw too much income, because you want to try and get that equal amount. So what you were living on before, what you're receiving as net income, you want the same when you implement this strategy for it to work at its most optimal.
Did this year's budget impact at all on how you would use a transition to retirement strategy?
Well, what the federal budget did, it has reduced or diminished the potential of the transition to retirement strategy because of the fact that there's now caps, or the caps applicable to salary sacrificing to superannuation have reduced. So previously, as of last financial year, a 55-year-old could salary sacrifice up to $100,000 into super. Now it's $50,000. So obviously the benefits have reduced as a result of the budget, but they are still quite substantially better off by doing the strategy. The other consideration is 2012, which means that 2012, anyone over age 50 will have the same cap as someone under age 50, which is currently $25,000. So again, from 2012, this strategy unfortunately will reduce again in its benefit.
Thanks so much for helping us out today, Dante.
You're welcome. Thank you.